Worriers, what relieves your anxiety? Music. It's the opposite for me for some reason. You know how people often turn off or lower the music volume in a car when they need to park or follow some weird directions? It's kinda like that. Music becomes noisy and distracting. But when I'm happy, relaxed or hyped, music is great. Same. If it's something real, then I make a flowchart of all possible outcomes. An amp, #X200B. Anyone with anxiety will tell you that we can look at a problem and immediately imagine about 100 different what-ifs and 100 different outcomes, all of them in varying degrees of catastrophe. An amp, #X200B. I make a flowchart of all the what-ifs and force myself to do good and bad. 99/100ths times the possible goods outnumber the bads if I'm completely honest with myself. An amp, #X200B. When I trace the bad outcomes, I see in writing just how many what-ifs it takes to come to that point, and it's usually quite unrealistic. Generally, the good outcomes only depend on one or two what-ifs. An amp, #X200B. I find it really helps sort my vision and soothe me. Similarly, if it feels like there are 100 things going wrong, writing them down usually shows that it's only a couple that are buzzing by over and over. Seeing them on paper individually also helps you focus on one at a time to see potential solutions. Once I'm at that point, if I can do something about it, I do it. If there's nothing I can do, when it pops up in my head again, I remind myself of that fact. Honestly, cleaning. Weirdly enough, I have severe anxiety and I find that cleaning helps compartmentalize my thoughts. Something about each thing having a specific place maybe? IDK. Try it out. I find any relatively simple task with immediate tangible results works for me. Cleaning, baking, mowing the lawn, shoveling snow, etc. works best if I do it while not watching a show, listening to a podcast, listening to music. Also, taking a shower for enjoyment, not just to get clean. Canceling plans. The person you're going to see. Canceling plans. Talking to someone. It makes me realize when I am blowing things out of proportion. Deep breathing. Count to 5 on inhale and exhale. I like this. Also, the 7-11 breathing technique is immense for healing. Inhale with count of 7 and exhale for longer with count of 11. Cognitive behavioral therapy and medication. I have generalized anxiety disorder. CBT is a life changer for anxiety disorders. Thinking what if it works out, instead of what if it doesn't. I think it's important to know that we often worry about things that we have no control over. We all have a sphere of control, things that we can actually exert control over. We have a sphere of influence, things that we cannot directly control, but we can potentially influence. Then there's everything else. I think it's important to notice and watch things outside those spheres, because what is happening may impact decisions that we make on things we can control. However, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to react and act and focus on the things inside my sphere of control. Reading. Doom Eternal. Also, the music from the game. It's extremely stress-relieving. Kind of ironic. You're really anxious, so you play a game called Doom. Weed. And for those of you who get more anxious when you smoke, try CBD. Pop on a tune that gives me chills and I'm not stressed anymore. Music gives me an incredible high, like Rush. Particularly grandiose and dense music like Strauss, Mahler, and some of Scriabin later works like his Poème de l'Extase. Hearing the orchestra in Strauss's Alpine Symphony suspend multiple octaves of a B-flat minor scale, with all of his eerie distance and the looming low brass in the background send ripples down my back. Can't be stressed or anxious during that. I can only smile. Same with the end of Mahler too. Even if you're not a classical music buff, it is truly magnificent and a must-hear. Eventually, I get used to that worry. Then I don't worry about it, it just becomes a thing I do. I always worry about doors being locked, stove being off, windows on the car being rolled up, and if I forgot my wallet, keys, phone, belt, deodorant. I've driven back home, halfway to work several times over the years just to shake this